We almost didn't do it.
Rock Hudson and Doris Day were once Hollywood's most beloved romantic comedy team. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, they lit up movie screens together in films like Pillow Talk. Audiences loved watching them, critics praised their work, and movie studios made millions from their partnership. They seemed like the perfect match, both on screen and off. But the reality behind their friendship was much more complicated than anyone knew at the time. From the outside, Hudson and Day appeared to have everything going for them. Hudson was tall, handsome, and charming. He was the kind of leading man that women dreamed about and men wanted to be like. Day was America's sweetheart, with her wholesome girl-next-door image that made her seem pure and innocent. When they worked together, their chemistry was magical. They made audiences believe in romance and happily ever-after endings. However, Hollywood in those days was a harsh place where appearances mattered more than anything else. Stars had to be very careful about their public image because one wrong move could destroy their entire career. Hudson knew this better than most people because he was hiding a dangerous secret. In the 1950s and 1960s, being gay in Hollywood was career suicide. Even the smallest rumor about someone's sexuality could end everything they had worked for. Hudson lived in constant fear that someone would discover the truth about his private life. Because of this fear, loyalty became the most important thing to him. He only trusted people who he believed would protect his secret. If someone proved they couldn't be trusted, Hudson would cut them out of his life completely. This is where his relationship with Doris Day becomes important. At first, Day seemed like the perfect friend for Hudson to have. She was so wholesome and respected that being around her made him look even more like the straight-laced dingman the studios wanted him to be. Their friendship appeared genuine, and they worked well together both professionally and personally. Day's squeaky clean reputation provided Hudson with a kind of protection from gossip and rumors. But Day was just as concerned about protecting her own image as Hudson was about protecting his secret. Her entire career was built on being seen as pure, moral, and innocent. She was marketed as the perfect American woman, and any connection to scandal could have ruined everything she had worked for. This created a difficult situation when whispers about Hudson's private life began to surface. According to people who were there at the time, Day started to distance herself from Hudson when rumors about his sexuality began to spread. Whether she did this out of fear, as a business strategy, or for personal reasons, she didn't always stand up for him when he needed support. To Hudson, this felt like a terrible betrayal. He wasn't naive about the risks of living in secrecy, but he had hoped that Day, someone he considered a friend, would have his back. Hudson understood that people in Hollywood often turned on each other to protect themselves, but he expected more from Day. In his mind, her silence when he was being whispered about was just as bad as if she had spoken out against him. He remembered every time she chose to stay quiet instead of defending their friendship. This created a growing tension between them that would eventually destroy their partnership. By the late 1960s, both Hudson and Day were facing challenges in their careers. The type of romantic comedies they were famous for were going out of style, and Hollywood was changing. Grittier, more realistic movies were becoming popular. Both stars needed something to prove they were still relevant, so the idea of reuniting them for another film seemed perfect. Studios thought audiences would love to see the famous pair together again. However, from the very beginning of this reunion project, it was clear that something had changed between them. The playful friendship and easy chemistry that had made their earlier movies so successful was gone. People working on the film noticed that Hudson seemed withdrawn and unhappy, while Day appeared cautious and distant. The magical spark that had once made them so special together had completely disappeared. Crew members later said that Hudson had doubts about working with Day again before filming even started. He reportedly told friends that he wasn't sure Day was still loyal to him, remembering how she had stayed silent when his private life was being questioned. The old hurt feelings came rushing back the moment they were paired together again. Others believed that Day was the one who felt uncomfortable. By the late 1960s, Hollywood was even more hungry for scandals than before. If the rumors about Hudson grew louder, Day couldn't risk being pulled down with him. Her career depended on maintaining her spotless reputation, and being too closely associated with scandal could have destroyed everything she had built. Whatever the real reason, the tension between them was obvious to everyone on set. Their conversations off-camera were polite but cold. The warmth and friendship that had once defined their partnership was completely gone. Instead of creating the magic that had made their earlier films so successful, this reunion only showed how broken their relationship had become. Hudson left the project feeling more hurt and isolated than ever. He was convinced that Day no longer cared about their friendship and was only interested in protecting herself. For someone who valued loyalty above everything else, this was the final straw. The reunion project that was supposed to revive their careers instead became the moment that ended their partnership forever. The situation was made worse by how Day handled herself during this difficult time. According to people who witnessed it, she seemed to deliberately avoid casual interaction with Hudson. She laughed less, spoke to him only when the script required it, and kept a careful distance between them. The friendly atmosphere that had once made their movie set so enjoyable was replaced by something calculated and cold. Hudson wasn't asking Day to sacrifice her career for him. He simply wanted some sign that she valued their friendship enough to show support when things got tough. Instead, he got distance and silence. This hurt him deeply because it proved that when he needed her most, she wasn't willing to stand by him. People close to Hudson later said that he never forgot how Day treated him during this period. He didn't get angry or create drama about it. He simply remembered, and once Hudson decided someone couldn't be trusted, there was no going back. It wasn't just about one project or one moment of silence. To him, it was proof that Day had never really been the loyal friend he thought she was. The broken relationship affected their work together in ways that everyone could see. Scenes that should have sparkled with the same charm as pillow talk instead felt forced and uncomfortable. The camera couldn't hide the fact that the magic was gone. What once had been effortless chemistry now looked like two professionals going through the motions without any real connection. Studio executives became worried because they had been counting on nostalgia to sell the movie. Instead of getting the beloved duo that audiences remembered, they got a painful reminder that time and hurt feelings change everything. The partnership that had once been Hollywood's most reliable box office draw was clearly finished. By the end of filming, Hudson had made a quiet but firm decision. He would never work with Day again. He told people close to him that the magic was gone and that Day had proven she wasn't the loyal friend he had once believed her to be. This wasn't a decision made in anger, but rather a calm conclusion based on what he had experienced. The end of their professional relationship had lasting effects on both their careers. Studios noticed the tension. Opportunities for them to work together dried up, and the legendary duo that had once captured America's heart was over. They would never share a movie screen again, not because of box office failures or changing movie trends, but because Hudson felt that Day had betrayed him when he needed her support most. To understand why this betrayal was so devastating to Hudson, it's important to know what loyalty meant in old Hollywood. In that cutthroat world, loyalty wasn't just about friendship, it was about survival. Stars lived under constant scrutiny where one wrong move or misplaced rumor could destroy everything they had worked for. Success came not only from talent, but from having the right people stand by you when things got difficult. For Hudson, who was hiding such a dangerous secret, loyalty was more valuable than money, fame, or any movie role. When he felt betrayed by Day, it wasn't about ego or professional competition. It was about the unspoken code of survival in an industry that could turn on you instantly. Friends weren't just companions. They were shields against the gossip machine that could destroy careers. Hudson knew what happened to people when Hollywood decided to destroy them. That's why Day's silence hurt so much. To the public, Day was untouchable. Her wholesome image was like armor that audiences refused to question. If she had shown even the smallest gesture of support for Hudson, it could have stopped speculation about his private life. She had the power to protect him, but she chose not to use it. Day's hesitation left Hudson feeling exposed and alone. It proved to him that even people who smiled beside you on screen could abandon you when things became difficult. In his mind, Day had chosen her spotless public image over their friendship. This wasn't just a professional disappointment. It was deeply personal. He had given her his trust, and she had let it slip away. This sense of betrayal stayed with Hudson for the rest of his life. People close to him said he quietly closed the door on day after their reunion project. There was no dramatic public fight or angry words for the press to report. Hudson wasn't the type to air his grievances publicly. Instead, he simply made his decision in private and stuck to it. He would never work with Day again, and he kept that promise. When offers came that would have paired them together again, Hudson turned them down. Hollywood's golden duo was finished, not because of box office failure or changing audience tastes, but because Hudson believed Day had failed him when he needed her most. The partnership that had once seemed unbreakable was over. When Hudson died in 1985, the world was shocked not just by his death, but by the revelation of his private life. His passing from AIDS-related complications finally exposed the truth he had fought so hard to protect. The man who had been marketed as Hollywood's perfect leading man was revealed as someone who had lived in fear, secrecy, and loneliness. In the years after his death, friends and colleagues began sharing stories they had kept quiet for decades. They spoke of Hudson's charm, humor, and generosity, but also of his deep loneliness. Many admitted that he often felt abandoned by people he thought he could trust. When Day's name came up in these conversations, the memories weren't always kind. People close to Hudson said he never fully forgave Day for what he saw as her betrayal. To the public, Hudson and Day remained the beloved golden pair of romantic comedy, but those who knew him claimed their friendship had been broken long before his death. In Hudson's eyes, Day had failed the most important test of loyalty. He didn't hate her, but he never forgot her silence when her voice could have protected him. After Hudson's death, Day spoke warmly of him in public, calling him a joy to work with and praising their partnership. But her glowing tribute seemed to contradict the reality of their broken relationship. If their bond had been as strong as she claimed, why had Hudson refused to work with her again? Why did so many people describe a lasting sense of betrayal? The gap between Day's public statements and Hudson's private feelings only added to speculation that she was protecting her image even after his death. People who had worked on their reunion project remembered how subdued Hudson had become around her, how the man who once filled movie sets with laughter seemed diminished in her presence. For them, it was clear that something important had been broken and never repaired. Hudson's story became larger than just a Hollywood tale. It became a warning about how the entertainment industry can suffocate its stars, forcing them to live behind masks until they can barely breathe. In that larger story, Day's silence became a haunting detail. She wasn't responsible for his downfall, but in his eyes, she was part of the loneliness that defined his final years. When people today look back at Rock Hudson and Doris Day, they often still see the glittering illusion of Hollywood's golden age. They remember the playful romance of pillow talk, the witty dialogue, and the effortless charm of two stars who seemed destined to work together forever. But beneath that glamorous surface lies a much less polished truth that changes how their legacy should be remembered. For Hudson, Day was supposed to be more than just a co-star. She was meant to be a trusted friend, someone safe in a world where very few people could be trusted completely. But when she chose silence over support, when her absence spoke louder than any words could have, Hudson made his decision. He would never work with her again, and their partnership was over. For Day, her public image remained untarnished throughout her life. She continued to be seen as America's sweetheart, beloved and admired by audiences. But that very purity may have been exactly why she couldn't risk defending Hudson. In choosing to protect herself and her career, she lost the bond that had once made them an unstoppable team. What makes their story particularly sad is how well hidden the truth was from the public. Audiences saw only the smiles and laughter from their movies, never the growing distance between them in real life. It was only decades later, after Hudson's death revealed his struggles with secrecy and fear, that people began to question what had really happened behind the cameras. By then, any chance for reconciliation was impossible. The broken friendship between Rock Hudson and Doris Day serves as a reminder of how ruthless Hollywood was in that era, and in many ways still is today. For Hudson High, his refusal to work with Day again wasn't petty revenge or a professional grudge. It was about survival and self-respect. He wouldn't share the screen with someone he believed had abandoned him when loyalty mattered most. To fans around the world, Hudson and Day will always be remembered as a golden pair who created movie magic together. But for those who know the real story behind their partnership, that shine is forever dimmed by the shadow of broken trust and betrayal. Their tale reminds us that even in Hollywood, where everything seems glamorous and perfect, human relationships can be just as fragile and complicated as anywhere else.